as we're trying to always be the best and give clients the best possible experience that they could have.
They could have kids, they could get married, and being a part of all of their special life moments, I think is really going to be impactful.
I know every document that they need. I have to send them everything. We really do have to jump through hoops just to get approved.
So you've been here for almost 2 years. Like, what out of everything that you've seen, what's been your favorite moments? That many? What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Barndo Show. I'm excited today because I have two of my favorite ladies here with me that have kind of been behind the scenes in the Barndo Co. And done some different things, do a lot of administrative work and things that people just don't really know that goes on inside the company. But we're making some shifts, and there's some new roles, responsibilities, and now we have 4 brick and mortar offices. These roles are very intricate to the puzzle as we're trying to always be the best and give clients the best possible experience that they could have. So I've got Haley and Jordan here with me. So Jordan, you're down in our Summerville office. Tell everybody who you are and what you do, and how long you've been with the company.
Yeah, well, I'm Jordan. Like you said, I'm down in the Somerville office, and I started 3 months ago as our office admin. It's crazy. It feels a lot longer than 3 months. And I started in that role as the office admin. I have been working with our director of sales. I've been working with director of construction, doing some behind the scenes work, and have transitioned now into this new role of our client experience coordinator, which I'm really excited about. Get to be a little bit more forward facing with the clients, which is something that I'm really excited to get the opportunity to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And Haley, a lot of y'all know her because if you've ever reached out to me, this is the gatekeeper to get to me. So she's the one responding to every email, setting up every call, and doing everything. And she's been with me for a little over a year in that role, and been with the company a couple years. And but go ahead, I don't want to steal your thunder. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Haley. I have been here for almost 2 years. I started out sitting in a transaction coordinator role. Then I transitioned to your assistant, and now I am transitioning into the director of client experience.
Yep.
So I'm excited for this role and to see what it brings.
Yeah, I'm excited about it too, because there's one thing, like, as we've grown, the one thing you don't want is for people to just feel like they're just another number, or, hey, like building 5 or 6 houses, or, that at that time, like everybody seen me, so like I'm visiting your job site. I'm sitting down with you and helping you do your design meetings. And then we kind of grew into that like 20, 30 homes, and now there's teams. So you may see me, you may not, you may be working with someone else. And then you get to the point where we're at now, where we're, pushing to get to 200 homes a year, and there's just no way, right? So now it's a rarity for clients to have that one-on-one time with me or Ross, or even like our executive team. Like it's just, there's just levels of transition. And so as we had more and more offices, we have more and more salespeople. One thing that we noticed was that there's sometimes a little bit of a disconnect, because people are people, right? We've all been there. Everybody's, bought a car at one point in time, and the salesperson maybe rubs you the wrong way, and you're like, geez Louise. Like, and so it's the same thing can be true inside of building a home, And so what we really wanted was, is there a non-biased person who can kind of be a liaison for the company during that time, from the very beginning, like when they onboard with the company, until we hand them their door keys, and even beyond door keys throughout the first year of living in that house, that they could reach out to someone that they could just, vent if they need to vent, someone that they can plan exciting things. You guys have worked on a lot of those things, but someone who's there for their experience, because that is, at the end of the day, the most important piece to us. It's a staple of within our core values. Like, we want to be the best, but we want people to have the best experience. And so we kind of started mapping this whole thing out, and Haley's been, managing so many different aspects of the business. Like you know the ins and outs of everything inside the company. And so I kind of just tasked you with this one day and was like, if we were to really focus on client experience, what would you do different? And so you started working on all these things. So like, let's talk a little bit about, some of that stuff that's coming, and some of it we've already been doing, but now that there's a new set of eyes that, sales is kind of looking at it from the aspect of like, hey, did I get everything they wanted? Did we build this out right? Did it go through design? Did we get all the pieces in here to make this house a home? Production is really just trying to get them in it as effectively as possible and as fast as possible, keep them on budget, keep everything moving smoothly. And then this piece, when we talk about experience, is building a house is chaotic. And so reminding people of like exciting moments during that. So talk a little bit about that, like some of the stuff that y'all have put together.
So when Haley brought this idea to me, I was really excited because it outlines a lot of really incredible things some of which we're already doing for the client, but a lot of things are extra and just make it more of a special experience for them. When I first started with Barndo Co, something that I really noticed from the beginning is that we truly care about the heartbeat and the people that we're working with. And I think this is just going to add another layer and another extension to the things that we're already doing, but make it into a little bit more of a concrete way that we can be doing things for our clients from the very start to the end. And I think it's nice that there's going to be some consistency. Like you said, we're there with them from the time that they onboard to the time that they get their keys. And so really being an integral piece for all of their life's moments. This could be a process that lasts a year and a half. And so they could have kids, they could get married, and being a part of all of their special life moments, I think is really going to be impactful.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that people don't think about a lot is like beyond just coming in and picking out your barndo, right? And then like telling us where your dirt is that you've purchased. And us assembling a team to go out there and build this thing. There's a lot of moving pieces, right? So like you've worked in hand with like every lender since the beginning of time. Like, and that's kind of like overlooked a lot of times. Like how many, when someone goes to finance, like describe that a little bit. Cause I've seen you working on these packets and they're never like just a page or two. Like talk about a little bit about the lender packets that you have to fill out all the time.
They range from 10 to 25 pages. It's a lot of repetitive information, but I mean, we have worked with 40, 50 lenders at this point, I would say. So it is a hard process on the client, I would say.
Well, the thing about it is like in doing that, so like we have some in-house lenders that we work with that are like kind of staple lenders. And they may have some kind of program here or there, some kind of thing that makes them unique. Like I'm not going to rob from them because they're in businesses like everyone else. Like everyone kind of has a niche they service. Everyone kind of has something that they do differently. But talk like when we're saying, hey, if you use our preferred lender, here's some incentives that come with that. And like what the difference is when you work with one of our little, we have a little pool of like preferred lenders versus, well, I really want to work with this lender that I found and they bring that. Like it can throw some hurdles in the way, like versus a tried and true lender that we work with every single day that's very familiar with our process. They understand what we build. We're not having to knock down barriers with them to get them to approve building this barndominium and all this kind of stuff versus, hey, this is Rebecca. I met her. She's in Omaha, Nebraska, and we're going to be working with her. Like, talk a little bit about how, like, the effectiveness, because everybody's in a rush, right? The moment they sign that paper, they're literally like, when are we starting to build? Mm-hmm. So talk about the difference in that, like if they work with an in-house or a preferred lender versus, bringing in like some brand new thing. And we could do both, but there are some hurdles to that.
Working with our preferred lenders, they know our process and we know theirs, like you said. I know every document that they need. They have all of our documents on file, and just going with these new lenders, I mean, for one, there's lots of paperwork on my end that I have to do, but I have to send them everything. We really do have to jump through hoops just to get approved.
And like I say, it's a piece that people just aren't familiar with, and they don't know that exists. And you do a really good job of just doing it, right? And you're dealing with like an absolute dragon on the phone trying to get all this stuff done, and the client has absolutely no idea that that's even happening, and unless there's like the rare moment where a lender just will not make it work, and then we're going back to them and trying to, and then put them in a new vehicle and get them across the finish line. But beyond, so they sign everything, they're on board, they're contracted, and then we get them into that finance portal. Occasionally, you got the cash client. We love you guys. We love you guys. We really do. And we have great lenders, and we've built some new ones, and a lot of these preferred lenders at some point in time were just one of those packets, and we're like, geez Louise. And then it turns out that it's a really great experience, and we end up doing a lot of repeat business with them. But so they get into finance, they go out, and we're waiting on that closing day, right? Everybody's excited about closing day, and then they close. So what are some of the things that y'all put together, Jordan, that like are going to be unique, or like moments or milestones during that process that are going to look a little bit different as we roll out this experience coordinator?
So with the onboarding process, there are different spots along the way that we will be getting in touch with the client, whether that's a phone call, an email, just to make sure that everything is lining up properly. They don't have any questions, things haven't slipped through the cracks. And we start the process with actually an intake form. And so having this Google form where we get to learn all about the client, their family, what their kids' names are, what their favorite snacks are, we can utilize those things. So then the onboarding and moving forward into the build process is just that much more enjoyable for them. They come to our offices from time to time during that onboarding process, and being able to greet them by name, meet their family in person, and have more of that personal connection is just really impactful for them and for us.
Oh, that's good. Like, I have no shortage of ideas. And so I remember I used to just like come up with crazy stuff, like on the fly, be like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and this, and all these things. And some of it worked really well. Some of it was like, and so we're always testing, like, what can we do that's different that really would cement us as being the best, and again, like, as you grow, you start dealing with noise and chatter of, they just got so big, or, like, we were going to work with them, but it just didn't feel as personable. And look, I'm completely fine with that. Like, if at this point, if you feel like that we're just, really aggressive and want and are trying to just force you into signing with us, you've missed the boat. Because I built our entire sales process around choose us, don't just use us. And, every piece of how we bring clients into this is allowing them to kind of court us, then date us, and then decide if they want to get married and build this house, right? And we're completely fine. Like, if someone decides, hey, we want to go a different route, or hey, this just didn't meet our needs, and we're dealing with it all the time. And there's high emotion with it. There's all kinds of things that go into this, and that's why we have the system we have. Because I would rather figure out 2 months into design and picking selections that you just don't feel like this is a good fit, rather than you just run in and egregiously sign everything that we have, and we, we're like, here, let's go ahead and get you to deposit and get you to sign this contract and do all this stuff like today. I don't like that as a customer. I don't like doing business that way. Everybody told me I was a lunatic when I said, like, I'm not going to make people sign contracts until they know every detail. But I think in a way, some people don't like it. Because some people, I think, are addicted to just let me close my eyes and do this today, and then just make something happen. Even if I don't like it, I'm not going to complain. I'd rather just you do it and not have to have any more conversations about it. But I really think there's value in that time period leading up to signing contracts, leading up to breaking ground, to where you got to know that we're the right fit for you. And not only that, but you're the right fit for us, because we have very, very forward criteria that we want. Like, everyone should know exactly what we stand for at this point in time. But as we move forward, and like I say, some of that chatter of like, just, well, you're just a number to them. And look, we love growth. We love building more houses, but we will never take on something where we don't feel like we can bring the level of professionalism and that experience to the table. Like I've had to have some conversations in the last 6 months where we made some decisions like, hey, in these areas, it's just not worth it. Because we can get in there and build that home. But in my mind, I don't feel like we're giving those people the same experience as people say, like in our back door or over here. You know, so we've updated our maps. If you go on our website, like it used to be pretty broad and expansive. There's still a lot of areas. I mean, we're still in like almost 400 counties.
Yeah.
So it's not like the map really shrank, but there are some areas where we said, hey, it's just, we can't be the best there yet. And so, you know, I think we had 4 or 5 clients that were kind of in those weeds. And we had to go to them and say, look, hey, unfortunately, we're going to have to give you a full refund on your money. I'm sorry that this just doesn't work out, but I would rather do that today and you have this much disappointment than to break ground and go into this whole endeavor and not be able to deliver you what we promised you. And so inside of doing all that is kind of where this reared up of like, how can we have this seat that's kind of neutral, you know, like you're there for the client and really just a voice, so they don't feel like, you know, well, if I say something negative to my sales agent, then they're just going to charge me more. Or if I piss off my project manager, he's just going to drag his feet. Now they kind of have like this safe spot to kind of, like I say, reach out and do things. But beyond the frustration of building a home, like the fun stuff. You made a whole list of things like that you thought would be, you know, great ideas. Like give me 2 or 3 of those things that like you've worked on during that experience, like during the timeline of building a home that like you want to like put more emphasis on, so that we don't lose that as we continue to grow, right? Like it still feels like we hire our local builder to come in and build our dream home.
One thing that we came up with was doing the first dirt on the first site visit out there. The clients are out there scooping first dirt from their house and then putting the handprints, the whole family's handprints in the concrete on the day of pouring.
Well, and we've done those things, but I can tell you firsthand, like when you're building as many homes as we're building, those things kind of get lost in translation. So like creating this experience coordinator position kind of puts that focus back on those little things. Because now you got a different set of eyes so that people don't miss that opportunity. And I think that our project managers did a pretty good job of being like, hey, we're pouring concrete next Monday. You won't come out there. But like they're telling them that on Saturday afternoon, you know, versus having it kind of more planned out. Like, hey, here's what to expect. And you guys are doing a really good job of putting all that together and like coming out and pushing that out. Well, let's shake it up a little bit. Like, tell me, you've been here for 3 months, which is bizarre to me. Like we were talking about that just before we started this, and I was like, 3 months.
I know.
Man. Like it literally to me, it feels like you've been here for forever. Like, and you know, and the Somerville area, like it was just, I don't know, you're a natural fit into the culture, and so, and I see you everywhere. Like you're in our internal communications, you're just like, you're doing all these different things, and you kind of got a lot of firsthand experience on both sides of the coin. So like you know the process forwards and backwards and through every aspect of it because you've worked in literally every department so fast. But like, what's been your favorite experience so far?
So my background is in customer service. And so I think for me, my favorite aspect is when someone calls or they walk in the door and I get to be that first point of contact for them and I get to greet them and answer their questions. And that is really fun for me to get to see them come through the door, especially when it's multiple times. If they come for a design meeting and then a spec meeting and they always walk in and they say their name, I'm like, I know who you are. You've been here before. I'm so excited to see you again. And so I think that's really been the funnest part for me is getting to still work with who we're helping, but just in a little bit of a different way than our project managers or sales associates.
That's awesome. And then you have done literally everything that could possibly be done. Like you came in, like you said, you were like a transaction coordinator, then you're like the director of first impressions, and you know, you're like the front office, and then you started working with me as my EA. And with that, I mean, you kind of had firsthand experience with everything in the company because anything that I'm doing, you're right there with me. So you just kind of naturally started doing everything. And so you've got a hand in everything. Like there's not many things where people don't be like, oh, Haley will probably know, So but you also kind of got privy to some of those things. Like, what's been your favorite thing, like working here? So you've been here for almost 2 years. Like, what out of everything that you've seen, what's been your favorite moments?
I think working with you, being your assistant, I think I've grown personally and professionally a lot. I mean, I've seen lots of things. I've heard all your conversations that you've had, and I just really feel like it's helped me in so many ways.
No, for sure. That's it. You want to get baptized by fire, just jump in my baptized. Man, like and in that 2 years time, like we're talking about going from literally 10 houses to 200 houses a year. And there's been a lot of conversations, it's like you've had the fun ones and you've been there when the whole house is on fire and we're trying to figure out what's the next move. And, bringing that to the table, like that's a lot of experience to get, introduced to, and then to be able to take that and then put a focus on clients is going to be an absolute slam dunk. Talk a little bit for me about like the gap between sales to production, because some people get like a little bit lost in that, because when you're in that sales side, right, everything's a dream, right? I'm fantasizing about my Barndo, like, you're showing your little pin board, your Pinterest board to everybody. You got all this stuff, and like you're working with the design team, and they're drawing it, and then you get that email, and you're like, oh, it's the one, and like all this stuff is just kind of like building and building and building, and then you sign and you move over to production, and like the objective is different, right? Sales is like, how can I get you as much of your dream as possible within the budget that you're, able to spend or want to spend. And it, you kind of go from like watercolor to permanent marker, and so, a lot of people I feel like go into the construction side and they're just like, where did the magic go? Because now it's just, there's machinery out there. They're pushing up dirt. Job sites are dirty. Like just your home does not look beautiful until the final moments, right? And if there's ever a time where we field more phone calls from people, it's during construction, and we're just like, your home is still in construction. Like, oh, yeah, no, I understand everything you're saying. It's still in construction. It's not going to look like a finished masterpiece until it's a finished masterpiece. But that bridge between the two, I'm excited about that. So, like, what are you guys doing for clients to kind of help bridge them into that RSB moment and then into that breaking ground part of the build to where this dream starts becoming reality? Because at the end of the day, that's what everything's for, right? Like turning impossible dreams into possible realities. That takes dirty boots. That takes some rough dudes that, build these things for a living that aren't really there. They're looking at the paper and they're building that, So do a little build up there, like how you envision this, like helping to, one, create better expectations for clients, but then how does that then improve their experience overall?
I think the first thing to realize is our onboarding process is about 60 to 90 days, whereas the build process can take up to 12 months. So there's a big difference in time frame for both of those processes. Something that we're doing to help bridge that gap and that experience is we, number one, are working with the client from the start, and then we're helping do the handoff from the sales agent to our PM and kind of filling in some of those areas. Our project managers are out in the field a lot. They don't always have access to internet service, their phone. You might not be able to get in contact with them. And so we're that second set of someone that you can actually call. We're in the office and say, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of this person, and we can kind of bridge that gap to make those things happen if there are questions. And the other aspect is in construction, there are times where I feel like to the client, it seems like nothing's happening because you don't see them out there every single day, when in reality, there are things happening. They're just behind the scenes, or we're waiting on X, Y, and Z to move forward with the next step of the process. And so not everything, you're involved in a lot of the onboarding process, whereas with construction, you get to see in Builder Trend what your schedule is like, but it's just a little bit of a slower process. So we're here to kind of set those nerves at ease, be there to listen to you, and to kind of, if you have something you want to vent about, be there so you can vent to us and give you more of that perspective of what's actually happening.
I love it. I love it. And if you guys are listening, I hope that you hear, like, we are listening. If there's, the number one thing is communication. And I think that's a natural thing for people, is like, you're either over communicated or you're under communicated. You're never communicated enough, right? Like the thing is, like, when you want to be heard. And so if you feel like you can't be heard, then it creates frustration. And so, like that's like a psychological side of this build, and something that we put a lot of value in it. Like, we don't want to just build your home and be done. We want you to be a raving fan when we're done. And that can't happen if you feel like you can't communicate with someone or you can't talk to someone, and kind of helping identifying those roles, because your project manager is not just building your house. He's running 8 to 10 houses. And the chances are, because we're not a tract home builder, those 8 to 10 houses are not on the same street. He may have an hour or 90 minutes of windshield time in between projects, and he's managing all of those, and he's trying to handle all of those situations. And so, like, when you have that moment on your project where you feel like, oh my God, somebody needs to know this, he probably knows, but he's done it 150 times. And so to him, it's like, I know how this will get fixed. And so sometimes, like, you get in that, like, the best builders aren't thinking about how like you're processing this job site. They're thinking about, I got to get this thing done. I got to get them moved in, and I got to make sure it's done on time, and I got to make sure that it's done on budget. And they're battling with material deliveries, subcontractor labor. You can't prohibit things from happening. Like, we've had builds where, somebody drove off the road and drove through their home 30 days before they're supposed to move in it. And now 6 months later, we had to basically tear down half the house and rebuild the whole thing and do everything. And now they're moving into their home. But, like, that's an unexpected caveat, right? That's extreme conditions. But, you got a plumber and his kid's sick. He's a human too. Like, something's going to happen that's going to delay something, throw that schedule off. And that project manager is in the background, because Billy, the warden, you guys go back and watch Billy's episode. Like, he's one of our area managers. He is holding them so fiercely accountable to that schedule. Like, is the schedule updated? Is this on time? Is this right? They're working on that aspect. Like, they have one goal, and that goal is to get the house done on time, on budget. And that's it. Your sales agent has one goal: to get you your dream home on paper that you can afford, so that you'd be willing to move forward and get this thing going. And so they've got a set of hurdles that they're working with too. It's more emotional then, and then it becomes more like, just real time tedious stuff. And then you have all the emotions that go into the fact that, like, you're living in a smaller space, or you're in a travel trailer or something, and then God forbid the holidays come, and, like, there's a lot of tension there. So again, creating that relief valve to where they have someone they can reach out to who can communicate with them. The little details that maybe don't even have anything to do with construction, right? You don't have to be a master builder. You just have to be a people person. So I'm really excited to see this roll out. And it's not just you two guys, like or girls. We have experienced coordinators in each of our locations. So who all is experienced coordinating?
Amanda is in our Knoxville office, and Hillary is in our Dunn office.
So, and again, they're not solely experienced coordinators. So, like, Knoxville, our Seymour office is, like, brand new. We're hoping to do ribbon cutting on it sometime this summer, and get everything rolling up in Eastern Tennessee full tilt. So they'll have a design center that people can come to. And Amanda also does sales, but she's handling that piece of it. She actually left our Duncan office to move her family to Knoxville so she could be up there and run that Eastern Tennessee branch. And then you have Hillary in our Dunn office, who's been in the industry for a long time, and she runs that design center, and she's meeting clients. And if you're in the Eastern North Carolina market, you've met Hillary. Like, if you've been to the office, you've met her. And so she's kind of playing that integral role, but she's also managing that entire office. She also does some sales and walk-in services as well. So these people that are in these roles are playing vital roles in so many things that make them the perfect fit for that experience coordinator, because it's not just like we went and hired people and said, hey, we created this new seat, we want you to come in and just be a voice on the phone. Like, no, you have tremendous experience, and like you've been here probably the shortest amount of time of anyone, but you came into an established office, in our Low Country office. It was our second office we ever opened. It's been in business now for almost 2 years, 18 months or so. And inside of that, like, you've done everything that you could possibly do, like from pulling permits to going out and meeting inspectors on jobs to, like working hand in hand with project management, working with Nick, our director of construction, and working with Alicia, our director of sales. Like, Alicia's in the Somerville office. So like you're very assimilated into how we operate. And so, for me, I want people to realize that it's not just a voice on the phone. It's someone who actually knows what's going on. And like this role is something that no matter where you are in the process, you guys know exactly what's coming next, what's to be expected, and you have no incentive to give them a sugar-coated answer. You're not on some timeline where your build bonuses are tied into how this happens and all this stuff. So you don't have that skew to like maybe fudge a little bit to, make people feel better so that you can get the ball rolling again. And you're not on the sales side where you're everything's hinging on closing this deal. Like, you're a neutral representative between the company and the client to make sure that they have someone that they can speak to at any point in time about anything from start to finish, and so they can be heard. So again, this comes from like just the feedback. We ask for feedback, and my buddy Nick Alfano always says that's his favorite F word is feedback, because without it you can't get better, right? Mm-hmm. You either got so much ego that you don't care what people have to say, or you just I don't know, like, you hear it and do nothing with it. But for me, like, I process every single thing that anyone says. If I see someone comment on Facebook, I'm the first one that's like, hey, what's going on with this client? Like, what happened? Or this customer that didn't ever even became a client. So that those things are so important to me. And here's the thing: if you're doing anything great, it's an uphill journey. And so everything inside of this company has been uphill, right? We're learning. We're expanding into new markets. You talk about building custom homes on other people's property. Like, every job is different. I don't care if everyone we build for, like, we have 500 clients in the pipeline and they all built the same home. Almost every one of them would still be its own set of hurdles and obstacles, because we're building on other people's property. We're building on other people's land, and we're building in 400 counties. And so, like, you're going from the good old Rocky Top all the way down to the coastal soils of Somerville. Like, there are so many things that are different no matter what you're building. And so to do all of that and do it well, you're going to have some things where you drop the ball. Like, we realize those things. We're very, 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 very open about, like, hey, I don't feel like we were our best here. How do we get better here? How do we do this better? And we have those conversations with our clients. Like, I've been on job sites where I have to look homeowners and I say, hey, look, you're right. We dropped the ball, but this is our game plan moving forward. And again, I've said this numerous times. Almost every single person who's in that moment, by the time they get moved in and they've made it, 3-4 months in their home, they're Raven fans. That they look back and go, okay, yeah, I've had so many like late night texts from previous clients that would be like, man, I'm really sorry for losing my mind on you. The house is great, but it's to be expected, and so I'm really, really excited about it. And something that I always say is the gap between expectation and experience is disappointment. So by having someone who's focused on experience, right, that's built up by setting proper expectations throughout that entire journey, that's going to eliminate a lot of that disappointment that people have, and hopefully make more raving fans of the Barndo Co. Yeah. Well, okay, guys. Well, I appreciate you coming out here and hanging out with me and talking about the new role. I'm really excited about the experience coordinator, and you getting to be the director of this client experience overall. Like, I know it's going to be great. I know that it's going to continue to raise the bar and set the precedence that we want to be the best at everything that we do. So I really, really appreciate you guys. And Jordan, you made the trip up here this morning all the way from the loco. So I know that, you're a go-getter. One of the core values is doer. I know that both of you are that. So I appreciate you, and thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, TJ.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in to the Barndo Show podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this content, hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And then be sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms at the Barndo Co. Super simple to find us. And then when you're ready to dive in a little more, maybe look around some of our available floor plan options, or take a look at the gallery of our work, or maybe you're ready to connect with our team and explore what it looks like to build your dream barndominium, you can visit us online at thebarndomco.com.